Now back at Reservation Road, we're going to introduce you to the 3 launches from the ramp, beach right, and beach left. Which you choose depends on the wind speed and direction. If winds are light, 10 or less, and southy, 270 to 240, it's reasonable to try a few practice runs. Run along the south side of the setup. Angle south toward Monterey. Turn left to adjust your heading around the corner as needed. And of course, don't land in the water. If winds are 12 to 15 and 270 plus or minus 15, the ramp is a good launch choice. If you've never launched the ramp, ask for assistance. Here's Matt on his first ramp launch. Make sure you hold the nose down and don't just let the wind pop you up. Angle your run right and turn immediately. It's important not to fly out of the lift band. You have to stay back on top of the dune. Fly about 50 yards until you get to the corner and make an efficient turn to stay in lift back on the dune. Here's our local veteran Dennis on launch. He carries forward on the ramp and stops where the slope begins and the air is clean. Here he does his last minute hang check. Wings balanced. Nose down. An aggressive run angled to the right. Immediate turn, and he's on the dune. Flies down to the end, does a 180 at the corner, staying back in lift. Here's the same ramp launch viewed from below. Now note the angled run and the immediate turn on launch. Put your feet in the bag after you're comfortably on path. See how his path is over the dune, not out in front? And his return is almost over the fence. He's staying back in the best lift. When winds are 15 plus and a little north, it's best to launch from the beach and go right. Here's Dave. First an angled run to set the northward heading, and turn initiation before getting out front. And if it's blowing 18 plus, you can get away with one of Dennis's patented la-di-da launches. Once he gets going, it's off to soar the ramp dune. Now here's a reminder that there are people around our launch area, and you will need to get comfortable launching and landing in crowded spaces. This is the pilot's view of the beach launch right. The angled run, airborne, and turning before reaching the front. Especially note how he stays on top of the little ridge. It's important to position your body almost directly over the crest. As you gain altitude, angle higher up the dune and position yourself for an efficient turn at the end. Here's Lee beach launching right. He begins his run a little closer to the front, and after an aggressive angled right run, he climbs up the dune and heads to the end. On this day, winds are a little northy, so he fades around the corner to maximize his turn in lift. The ramp dune is a great place for gaining sufficient altitude before departing, crossing the setup gap, and heading south. Often just a single pass or two is sufficient. Don't hang out at the ramp dune if other pilots are waiting to launch. After gaining his altitude, Lee pulls in to gain speed. He does this to make sure he makes the south corner and to ensure that he passes below the returning pilot who has ridge rules right of way. On this day, there seems to be plenty of wind for these two to pass safely. Now we're going to see some beach launches left. Here's Lee in his K3 launching in 14+. This launch direction isn't recommended for northy days. It's much better for days with a little south. He heads straight for the corner, aiming to keep his inbound wing above the dune. At the corner, there's sudden lift on your left wing that'll turn you out if you're not prepared, so you have to lean on the left wing as you go around to stay on top of the dune. Here's another view of the same launch. Watch for the turn immediately after the launch. His path follows a little bit out in front of the fence. On light days, you may have to center your path directly over the fence, and this can be a little intimidating. With sufficient lift, your left tip should be above the corner dune. Next up, landings.